Have you ever heard the saying, your postal code is a bigger determinant of your health than your genetic code? Because that's what we're going to be talking about today. And it might be some helpful information to know before you put that house up for sale or sign the lease to that new apartment, if anyone can still afford houses and apartments in this day and age. Anyway, let's go. Yo, what is up? Welcome back to another week of How to Health. My name is Kevin. I run liftandbalance.com, where we take aim at all things health and longevity and do it in an odd, weird, interesting, and highly sarcastic way. Today we are doing a little critical thinking on the impact of urbanization, or in other words, more city life on our health and longevity. Another way to look at this is the growing disconnect between us modern intelligent walking apes and our OG habitat, nature, outside, the Oregon Trail. That game got me through my first job. So we'll be taking a critical look at the impact of these indoor and urbanized ways, seeing if there really is a connection with this up and to the right rise in chronic disease, and coinciding down rise in longevity. Finally, talking about some tactical strategies that you can deploy if you find yourself classifying as a indoor maxi. Because the reality of the situation is, with all the wonderful things that this modern 24/7 digitally connected world has brought us, it also, just like any massive shift or innovation, brought with it unintended consequences. Two, relevant to this conversation being an increase in time spent indoors, as the modern person in the developed world is estimated to spend nearly 90% of their lives indoors. Yeah, I'd say that's likely you. And this mass migration / aggregation towards urban areas or cities, where it's estimated that nearly 70% of the world's population currently lives. And it just so happens that this combination, along with a few other variables such as socioeconomic status, local pollution levels, and community infrastructure, health, and resources, have an above zero impact on our biological situation. An impact that increases the odds, likelihood, and probability of chronic diseases such as cardiovascular disease, diabetes, obesity, and cancer. So much so that large-scale population-based statistical studies are able to determine the health risk of a community simply by the zip code or postal code, suggesting that these non-conventional risk factors may be playing a larger than anticipated role in our health than previously suspected. So let's explore why a connection, or lack thereof, with nature is so potentially important. And of course, as is tradition, we have a simple yet complex answer to break the ice. And that is the simple fact that we have nature and its many wonders deeply rooted in our biological wiring. It has been our main place of habitat for millions of years of primate and hundreds of thousands of years of Homo sapien evolution, making us biologically programmed from a cellular perspective to it. So much so, basically every single study exploring nature's effects on our health and well-being has concluded that it makes a big and magical impact, improving mood, boosting energy and focus, reducing stress, lowering anxiety, and bringing about a better sense of overall well-being. Literally, just by hanging outside, touching some earth, getting some sun, and breathing some fresh air. And to put this in a little perspective, if a pill did that, it'd be a multi-billion-dollar mega drug that everyone would be asking their doctor for. Yet, we're both inside right now, recording and watching this. Not cool. And if you are actually outside, let me know in the comments and I'll find a prize to give you. Now, you may be wondering, what exactly happens to our biology when we are out in this nature thing? And in short, a lot. For example, every time we are outside and pick up the signal of light from the sun, a flurry of biochemical shifts begins to go down. These non-visible spectrums of light are received by the eyes and sent for processing in a small region of the brain called the suprachiasmatic nuclei. This is our body's master clock, a clock which, when properly aligned, tells the body and all of its systems when certain things should happen. These innate biological rhythms are known as our circadian rhythms. And if you've been around this channel, you know that these natural sleep-wake cycles are extremely important for our biological operations, and thus our health, being optimized when they are in sync with the day-night cycles of the Earth. Something that this indoor 24/7 staying up into the wee hours of the night digital lifestyle has impacted more than we probably realize. Another superpower of this ambient light from the sun is its ability to alter our neurochemistry, modulating key neurotransmitters like serotonin, dopamine, and oxytocin, placing us in a more relaxed, less stressed, and overall better physical and mental state. Why you think surfer bros and broettes are so chillaxed? Staying on the brain, an interesting study which looked into the effects of spending more time outside on said brain found that more time outdoors actually altered the structure of the brain, increasing the gray matter or neuronal processing clusters in key areas of it, like the frontal cortex, being observed in over 200 MRI brain scans over the course of 6 to 8 months. And get this, the craziest part was that all of the participants lived in urban areas. Yeah, all those beneficial changes didn't need any forest bathing, just some more time outdoors in an urban city. There's also the cool non-self things that happen when we interact with nature. One being the high likelihood that it increases our microdiversity, or diversity of microbes living in and on us, as these microorganisms actually have beneficial effects when experiencing them in natural situations, like a hike or picnic, swimming in a lake, ocean, or pond, or taking a nice mud bath. We're all taking mud baths, right? And there has been some really interesting data displaying that simply interacting with microbe-rich soil, like holding it in your hand for a period of time, reduces feelings of anxiety and depression for participants in just a few minutes. And while we are touching some earth, we might as well talk about the other big biological benefits in doing just that. Something we'll call the grounding effect. This occurs when we engage in direct skin-to-earth contact, a truly lost art in this rubber shoes indoor modern world, as it was something that we used to do 24/7 up into a few hundred years ago. And when this connection is made, cool bioelectrical things begin to happen. This is because the Earth's surface is covered in constantly renewing negative electrons. And when we touch it directly, these electrons get absorbed up into the body and help neutralize our bioelectrical charge, with the observed effects being pretty damn interesting, as this grounding or earthing therapy has been shown to reduce inflammation, improve blood flow, and alleviate chronic pain. All for the inflation-adjusted price of free $99. And to really nail home this notion around environment and our health, let's look no further than this previously reviewed twin study, which looked at the impact of walkable communities on sets of biologically identical twins. Twins that have the same exact genes, canceling out that beloved variable almost completely. This study observed that the adult twin who went on to live in a more walkable community had a lower probability of disease, finding that much of this difference came down to epigenetics, or how their respective genes were expressed, turned on, and silenced, concluding that their particular environment's walkability led to more overall exercise and a shift in genetic expression towards being more protected against disease. Moral of the story: environment matters. So hopefully you're beginning to understand why more time outside is something that your body will probably thank you for. especially since studies like this new 2024 review investigating the association between features of a neighborhood's built environment as seen on Google Street View and the prevalence of coronary artery disease in that area, a first of its kind, might I add, analyzing the publicly accessible Google Street View data, found that areas with features such as poor maintained buildings and roads were linked to higher coronary heart disease prevalence, whereas areas with more trees, greens, parks, and well-maintained housing showed lower risk, being consistent across the 7 US cities that it looked at. Now, this isn't to say that living in a urban, less maintained city area is a longevity death sentence, because it's not. But it does add fuel to the evidence that this is a risk factor that we should probably be aware of. Because understanding the variables at play is a critical and necessary piece of owning your health, and brings forth a critical truth. The fact that everyone's optimal health strategy is going to be a little different, or a big bit different. And that's the way it should be. Because the reality of the situation is we've all got different internal and external variables that we're juggling. Thus, it will behoove you, and you'll be doing yourself a favor if you get to know your zip code a little. And when you do, here are some tactical ways to improve your outdoor experience without going anywhere. And I gotta say, it's kind of funny that we've reached the point where we have to schedule nature time into our day. But it's also hard to argue that going outside doesn't make you feel all those biological feels. You know what I'm talking about. So my first suggestion would be to do a little self-reconnaissance. Familiarize yourself with the green areas in your zip code, the parks, fields, rivers, ponds, lakes, and any well-sunlit areas. Know what you're dealing with, because then you can really start crafting your daily habit routines and rituals in a nature-filled way. A great place to start is by petting in some morning sunlight. This will go a long way for those aforementioned circadian rhythms and get your body properly aligned for biological operations. Aiming for 10 to 15 minutes within the first hour you get up is a great goal to strive for, and will work biological wonders. Next, aim to take a meal or two outside, like lunch. Weather permitting, of course, but it will definitely shift your biochemistry for the better, with a bonus of giving you some good post-meal steps on the walk back to aid digestion. Oh, and while you're at it, you might as well get a little touchy-feely with the earth, either in the morning or during your outdoor meal or during a separate workout, whenever. Go ahead and take those shoes off, or sit down on the ground. I personally like to maximize my grounding by putting a grounding sheet at the end of my bed so I am grounding throughout the night, as we discuss here. Another obvious but impactful suggestion is to walk more places if your urban area is walkable. This will give you the double whammy of nature and exercise, a biochemical flurry of good vibes which cannot be matched. On the topic of movement, I also like to bring a few workouts each week outside, bare feet to ground. I mean, think of all the boxes you're checking there. Nature mini vacations are also a great tactic to use if you are in an urban area. This is where you escape the confines of the city for a few hours or the day and find a good outdoor nature experience. This could be a hike, beach, lake day, park visit, or even skydiving. Talk about one way to get your fresh air. Finally, it is always a good idea to bring some nature to you. Open the windows and doors, get some more houseplants, and bring the wilderness into your living space. Interestingly, the microdiversity of our home has actually been associated with health benefits. Thus why having a pet that goes outside, rolls around in the dirt, then comes back and naps in your bed is actually pretty damn beneficial for your health. Who would have thunk? Like I alluded to before, and hopefully by now, by the end of the video, you're seeing the point. Environment matters, and everyone's situation and optimal strategy is different. Best news being, this is something that you, me, and everyone else have the power to modulate. So unlock yourself from your home, apartment, and office and get out there already. Maybe just don't start with the skydiving, though. Just saying.